Shadowversity.
Greetings, I'm Shad. I'm a weapons enthusiast, student of historical swordsmanship, and what I love to do is to take a look at how historical weapons are adapted into pop culture to see how effectively it's done, how plausible, realistic, but also to have a look at just fantasy weapons in general. Now, out of all the weapons I have looked at, there is a rather humble weapon that does get used in certain pop cultures, iterations and things like that, and I've never really stopped to think and analysed how effective a weapon would it truly be. And what am I talking about? The humble frying pan. That's right, we'll be looking at the frying pan to see, like, the pros, cons. Is it actually as good as it's often depicted in many TV shows, video games, stuff like that? For instance, the first one that comes to mind is probably the Disney movie Frozen, where both Rapunzel and Finn Rider use a frying pan. And, Finn, he wasn't really convinced to the idea at first, but after he gives it a go...
Oh, Mama, I have got to get me one of these!
So, not only is the frying pan used in a Disney movie, a very popular video game, Mordhau, and yes, I'm going to be taking a look at it in the future if I ever get around to it. My editor, Oz, is really on my back to review that thing. And so, don't worry, I'm going to play some Mordhau eventually, but there's a frying pan. You can pick and use a frying pan in the video game Mordhau, which is like a medieval combat, I was going to say simulator, but there's a decent amount of historical accuracy in it. And the frying pan is depicted as being rather effective. But it'll be interesting to see how effective it is in real life. But if you want a more legitimate and authentic kind of use of the frying pan in a fantasy property, well, look no further than Lord of the Rings. Samwise Gamgee, he uses a frying pan in there as well. So the frying pan gets used in fantasy a decent amount. And on that note of Lord of the Rings, if you haven't listened to the audiobook, I highly recommend it, which is rather appropriate to the sponsor of this video, Audible. In fact, if you're looking at Lord of the Rings, you should probably start with The Hobbit. I've recently re-listened to The Hobbit on audiobook, and it was phenomenal. Old Tolkien can get a bit of a bad rap for being overly descriptive, but the detail in his descriptions, when you listen to them through a just phenomenally talented narrator, they are so immersive. It was a true joy. And you can actually get The Hobbit for free if you go to www.audible.com/Shadowversity, or if you're in the US, you text Shadowversity to 500-500. Not only can you get The Hobbit for free, but you also get 2 Audible originals. 3 audiobooks if you try Audible for 30 days. And then with that monthly subscription, you get a credit to get a new audiobook at such a better price than what you would have to have paid to get that audiobook at its regular retail cost. It is a phenomenally good deal. I've been signed up for Audible for years. I have a huge Audible library. I cannot recommend it enough. In fact, I have my own audiobook available on Audible. So if you're not interested in The Hobbit, check out my own audiobook, Chronicles of Everfall, Shadow of the Conqueror, available through Audible as well. You have to understand, Audible has an unmatched selection of audiobooks, including those Audible originals that I mentioned that are made by some of the best storytellers and narrators in the world, and you can't get these Audible originals anywhere else. So if you want to get one of these audiobooks for free, either my audiobook, Shadow of the Conqueror, or The Hobbit, remember, go to www.audible.com/Shadowversity, or if you're in the US, text Shadowversity to 500-500. Get your first audiobook for free and 2 Audible originals if you try Audible for 30 days. So now back to the frying pan. And is it a good weapon? Well, it can be a bit nimble in the hand, but first let's kind of step back and just analyze a basic reality, okay? And it would obviously be better than nothing. And this is kind of the thing where I think the frying pan comes into the realm of a possible plausible weapon for anyone, really. You see, we humans, we can only produce so much energy force to defend ourselves, inflict damage on an enemy or monster or whatnot. And so if we're in a desperate situation and we don't have a weapon, anything really would do. A rock or something, or indeed a frying pan. A frying pan would be just, well, when I say just effective, let's see how effective it would be at what weapons are meant to do, which is a force multiplier, okay? So weapons, through a number of different properties, can increase the force that we would generally be able to produce just by ourselves. For instance, through leverage, okay, the frying pan is able, or any weapon really, is able to move at a faster rate, see how that's fast, faster than I could throw a normal punch, okay? This is just the angle that we're looking at. And because of that, we can generate more force with any type of lever that we're holding. Then there is a material advantage. A rock, frying pan, sword, anything is a lot stronger than our own kind of fleshy fists. And because of that, they generally have much higher ability to inflict damage on another person. And then there is another additional kind of thing that weapons do, which is they concentrate the force onto a smaller surface area. Think about the force I can generate with a slap, okay? If you took all the force that I was able to generate with a slap and apply it to a needle, you can kind of get an idea of how far that needle would penetrate compared to a regular kind of slap hit. The reason being is the force is distributed over the surface area of my hand, but on a needle it has a very, very small surface area, so therefore it can penetrate much, much deeper. Now with a frying pan, well, let's look at those properties. Let's apply those properties that we just talked about onto this thing right here. First of all, it's a lot more solid, so already it has an advantage there. Solid, you get hit with it, you're gonna kind of feel it. Can you hear the ting? You're gonna feel it. It does get a bit of an advantage in leverage, okay, because you see this lever action right here, which means the frying pan section will be able to be moving at a higher speed. Now, in terms of the surface area that the force is being applied to, it really does depend on how you're using this frying pan weapon thing, because if you hit it on the flat, which honestly we do see people who use the frying pan do, they generally slap their opponents with a frying pan. That's actually not a very efficient way to do it because there's a much larger surface area that you're hitting against. You get the leverage effect, but honestly, I don't think, you probably would be able to knock someone out, depends. There's a lot of variables at play, and I wonder how much force you would actually generate if you go up and hit someone with a flat of the frying pan. In actual fact, you'll do much better hitting with the side, because again, smaller surface area, therefore the force is concentrated on a smaller area, more penetration, more damage, and that would hurt. If you went up to someone, just a big whack there with the side of a frying pan, that would hurt. It would hurt quite a lot. Would it be more effective than other weapons? No. No, I mean, other weapons are designed to get these advantages to the maximum amount. A frying pan isn't, okay? A frying pan is clearly designed to achieve a different purpose. Can you guess? Can you guess what that is? And it's because of this design, there are a couple of limitations that you'd get out of it. One, it's the weight balance, okay? Weapons, like swords, are weighted specifically to get the maximum effect that you want out of them. Remember, force multiplication. A sword is expertly engineered to achieve what you want to achieve with it, okay? Damage with the thrusting, with the cutting, but there's a couple of other subtle things you might not be aware of. For instance, how the weight is distributed above the area in which you're holding it, okay? If the weight was a bit off, say if it went like that, okay, on an angle, it would be kind of pulling down and it would throw off your alignment, and that would make it really awkward to redirect your movement. But with a sword, because the weight is perfectly balanced from where you're holding it, you can redirect the motion of this blade really quickly, which gives you a huge advantage in combat, right? And so, again, when it comes to weapons, they are designed very specifically. The frying pan, and you can pick up any frying pan, right? You will notice instantly that the weight is very awkward because when you hold it like this, remember the weight here is off center from where I'm holding it, which makes it want to kind of fall down. It doesn't make it unusable as a weapon, just more awkward, all right? And so if you're wanting a bludgeoning weapon that is not anywhere near as awkward, you'd look at like a mace or even a club. Now, not every frying pan has a weight distribution as accentuated as the one I'm holding here. This is a rather deep frying pan. You can get ones that are much more shallow and the handle, not kind of curving away from the flat of the frying pan at such a strong angle like this. And that would mean the weight would be far more, balanced from where you're holding it, which actually make it more of an effective weapon. So how effective would a frying pan like this? And let's actually go all the way. Let's say the whole thing was flat, okay? From the handle to the actual flat of the frying pan, it'll be a weird one. It wouldn't be the best for cooking. Food would kind of slide off the edges as soon as it gets angled a bit. But let's actually push this. Let's actually try and invent a weaponized version of the frying pan, because there's been many, they're generally farming tools that get turned into weapons. I've recently done a video on the bill hook, which comes from the agricultural bill hook, all right? And that was adapted into a very effective weapon. We see the war scythe. Again, a weapon that started out as an agricultural tool and adapted as an actual battlefield weapon. As to cooking implements, I wouldn't say the rolling pin, okay? I know the rolling pin can be used as a fairly effective club, but just use a club, and I don't think it started as a rolling pin adapted into a club. I think the club came first, in all honesty. But all right, let's say someone actually wanted to use the frying pan kind of design, but got rid of all the negatives and made it effective for combat, which would be, it'll be flat. That means the balance would be decent, and you'll probably put a sharpened kind of blade edge all around the perimeter. Of course, this kind of strange, different design of a frying pan would be much more deadly than a conventional cooking one, but yet it still wouldn't be better than a myriad of other weapons. Now, for any type of tool, kitchen tool, agricultural tool, to be adopted as a effective weapon, right, generally you need the effectiveness to at least come up to about the same as other weapons. If it's better than other weapons, then it becomes really popular, like the bill hook. But even if it's not better, if it's just about the same, well, it's a matter of personal preference, what people like. And generally, if there's another weapon that's just effective and you can train with it and get good at it, that becomes a far more prominent kind of weapon that gets adopted in the mainstream. I don't see that even with a weaponized version of the frying pan, because any type of property that you look at it, okay, you can get a bit of leverage because the kind of slashing end is angled forward a bit from the point of leverage, but there are weapons that kind of do that anyway. Forward curving swords, knives, and even sickle kind of weapons like the kama that we see from Japan. Could you use it to block things? Because you have this big, large surface area right here, and it's like a weaponized shield with a handle then. Well, it depends on how big the circumference is, and that's an interesting property that I don't see many other weapons kind of giving, where you can kind of block like this, you know, you might be able to block arrow shots. My sword. You might be able to block arrow shots a bit better. It'd be hard because it's still much smaller than a regular shield. But there are shields that, you know, are about as big. Like if you look at the Taj, okay, the certain Taj shields can become about, say, about that big. Of course, bucklers are about that big. So the blocking capacity of this might give it a bit more viability as a weapon, especially if you weaponize certain design parameters. It could be a bit more plausible. And it'll be interesting to try and think of a character who would actually prefer a weaponized frying pan to others. And even as a regular frying pan, one that's not weaponized, if there's, you know, wider surface area to block things, maybe you would need to use it fairly actively to block stuff because your hands are vulnerable. And so if you just use it statically like this, well, a person will see that, your opponent, and just aim for your hands are gone. So you need to kind of keep it active, keep it moving, and use it to try and block. You don't have a huge, you know, amount of leverage. There's not a lot of distance from your handle to the end, which means it'll be harder to do sweeping kind of blocks. Maybe that's what Sam was doing in Lord of the Rings, where he might have been using the frying pan as not only an offensive weapon, but a bit of a defensive, you know, parrying offhand weapon with the sword in his main hand. Parry, parry, do some hits, do some stabs and cuts. Maybe Sam got a bit proficient with the old frying pan. So there we go. This has been an overly detailed analysis to see just how effective a frying pan really would be as a legitimate weapon. And as we found out, it's certainly better than nothing, but it's not the best thing you pick. And so if you just have it on you and you need something to club someone with, sure, absolutely. Yeah, of course you could use it. Sam, good on you. So thank you for watching. I do hope you have enjoyed. And of course, I hope to see you again. So until then, farewell.